This morning's Torah reading reminds us that Abraham and Sarah's struggle to build a family was filled with joy and anguish. And their journey brought moments of blessing, like the birth of Isaac, but also emotional turmoil, culminating in the cruel banishment of Hagar and Ishmael. Tomorrow, their story becomes even more painful. Abraham is tested by God, commanded to bring Isaac to the top of Mount Moriah and offer him as a sacrifice. Without hesitation, Abraham accepts the test. And at the mountain's peak, he binds his son and lifts the knife, seemingly ready to do the unthinkable, when an angel of God intervenes, saying, "Do not raise your hand against the boy. For now I know that you fear God, since you have not withheld your son." Abraham listens, he looks up, and he sees a ram, which he offers in Isaac's place. Father and son descend the mountain physically unscathed, but surely emotionally scarred. For centuries, this story has troubled so many of us. We wonder, how in the world could Abraham have done this? Why didn't he turn God's test down? Did he pass the test? Did he fail it? And why do we read this on Rosh HaShanah? As I share lessons that I've learned on this 25-year journey as a rabbi, I have to include one I've learned as a father, a role gifted to me by Cheryl, one that began with the arrival of Abigail a year before we moved to South Florida, and wonderfully expanded when Jonah came into this world 1 year after our arrival. And it was right here on this bima at Jonah's bris more than 22 years ago that I began to understand why we read about Abraham and Isaac's trek up the mountain at this holy time. I am, shall we say, and if you laugh, I'm going to see you. I am a bit of a control freak. I like life to feel manageable. I find unpredictability challenging. And I work really hard to create order and fix things quickly. While I've gotten a little better at letting go, I own that I am not, and probably will never be, a hands-off, go-with-the-flow kind of guy. I've also come to appreciate that being a control freak does have its strengths. It drives me to seek solutions to challenges and instills within me a deep desire to keep those around me safe and cared for. Of course, it also brings challenges to Cheryl and my team here at RSBI and my kids, each of whom could easily give sermons about my tendency to micromanage. This is something I continue to work on and for which I will seek forgiveness during these holy days. Now, you might be surprised to learn that as a father, the near sacrifice of Isaac is a story I try, though not always successfully, to incorporate into my parenting, even as my children begin their own adult journeys. Let me explain. Abigail was 2 years old when Jonah was born, and I worked so hard to keep her safe and happy. Some of you here today will remember a Friday night service when she was running around in the oneg room and she tripped and cut her chin. Miss Marnie, where is she? She's going to remember how Cheryl and I both dropped everything at a lunch meeting and we rushed back to RSBI, dashing into the early childhood, panting, because we got a call that baby Abigail had been bitten by one of her friends. For a helicopter father, moments like this were really hard to process. And then came Jonah. And when he was 8 days old, I had to hand him right here to Rabbi Seif, the Moyle, who was holding a scalpel. Now, I appreciate the importance of Brit Milah, of circumcision, but at that moment, handing our baby to a man who was about to intentionally cut him, hurt him, scar him, well, for this control freak, it was the epitome of absurdity. Now, I don't remember anything about the actual bris, thank God. What I do remember is that when it was over, Rabbi Seif held our tiny son right here, swaddled in a blanket, up in the air, and showed him to all of you, like Rafiki lifting Simba in The Lion King. And at that moment, I realized this powerful truth. While Jonah is our son, he's also part of something much larger than us. Like Isaac, like Abigail, like every single child, my son belongs to life itself, to God, to the universe, to community, to the web of people and forces, beautiful and challenging, that will shape who he becomes. Cheryl and I are entrusted to guide him, but not to possess him. And so my instinct to control, to protect, to manage every outcome must yield to the humbling truth that greater forces are always at play. Chance and choice, blessing and struggle, the hands of others and the hands of God. Looking at my baby son held out before the congregation, tradition, faith, and community taught me that my children are not mine to keep safe from every hurt. They're going to cry. They're going to fall down. And they will be scarred, no matter how much I try to protect them. And yet they always will be, God willing, lifted and healed and made stronger by life, by love, and by the support that Cheryl and I, along with extended family and friends, mentors, healers, community, and God, offer. I struggle to hold this lesson tight. Every year, as Abraham takes Isaac up the mountain, there's still a part of me that wants him to say to God, I will not take your test. I will not let my son be harmed. But I know that Abraham understood something profound. He knew that the test was mandatory. It couldn't be avoided. And that test is what we call life. The test is also what we call faith. The test is knowing that everyone's journey requires climbing mountains, and that scars are the marks of living and learning, and that there are indeed angels whose job it is to help heal the scars or just embrace them when the climb is too much. The test is believing in a power bigger than ourselves, in the sacred power that is your child, and in the angels who appear along the way. So as Abraham prepares for the test again this year, I too am preparing for it once more. I'm taking a deep breath and a leap of faith in God, in the universe, in community, in the angels, and most of all, in my kids. I'm working hard to let go as they climb their own mountains, to support but not smother if they stumble on their way up. And if they don't make it all the way to the top of the current mountain they're climbing, if this mountain proves too steep or the climb too hard, I'll be there too. Not to carry or push them, not to control the journey, but to steady them. Remind them that they're not alone and help them find the strength, whether to keep climbing at their own pace, make their way back down the mountain and take a different path, or simply sit together and cherish the view from whatever height they've reached. And God willing, to rejoice with them when they do celebrate their victories at the summit. For those who need to, I invite you to take the test along with me and Abraham this year. I invite you to do so for the kids in your life. And to the angels that are out there, please look out for our kids.